Most of us spend December frantically running around getting ready for Christmas, but our next guest did something a bit different and even more tiring. British explorer Alice Morrison has become the first recorded person to walk the entire length of Saudi Arabia, north to south, entirely on foot. And Alice joins us live this morning. Good morning, Alice.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, firstly, congratulations. Just explain why you wanted to complete this particular challenge.
Two reasons. One, completely emotional. When I was 11, my dad gave me a book called Wilfred Thesiger's Arabian Sands, which was about his amazing crossing of the empty quarter with his Bedouin companions. And I read about the beauty of the desert and the bravery of the team and how they nearly died and the camels. And it really lodged in my heart and in my brain. And now, 50 years later, I've done my kind of version. So that's that one. And then the second one is that I'm an adventurer and I was looking for, something big to do, a world first to do. Saudi Arabia started to really, really open up. And I thought, what a statement that a woman's going to be the first recorded person to do it. And I'm an Arabist. I speak fluent Arabic. I've always wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. So it all seemed to fall into place.
So tell us about the challenge then. How difficult was it? Where did you start? Where did you walk to?
Yeah, sure. It was 112 days and I walked roughly half a marathon every day. It was from the very north of Saudi Arabia, so the border with Jordan, a place called Halat Ammar, right down kind of just to the east of a range of mountains, all the way down to the border with Yemen at Najran. And we walked every morning. There were some big challenges. The heat was an enormous challenge on stage 2. It was 39 degrees centigrade, so that was a bit much. It was hard, but it was also fantastic. And I had a backup team from Yemen, Saudi, Sudan, and Ireland. So we were a completely diverse, fantastic crew.
So a half marathon every day. How on earth were your feet?
Stage 1, complete disaster. Stage 1, I got blisters on the very first day, and I had them for about 3 to 4 weeks, and I was honestly in agony. My feet were just bleeding into my shoes. There is no way I would have kept walking if it weren't for the fact that I'd worked for 2 years to get this thing up and running. I'd sold my flat in London to finance it, and I was so determined to do it, but it was agony, and that really detracted from the experience. But then stage 2, I learnt my lessons, and my feet were perfect.
How did you learn your lessons? What did you do differently in stage 2?
Yeah, well, look, I've been doing this quite a bit. I've done a few big crossings. I've walked across Morocco and the Sahara, I've walked across Jordan, and I made a real rookie error. I wore thick hiking socks with my trainers on the very first day because I wanted to protect, kind of cushion my feet, and they were the wrong socks. And basically, they just rubbed, and that's how I got them. And that's the other thing. Can you imagine walking for all that time and just cursing yourself because you've made a stupid mistake?
Oh, goodness me, that must have been difficult. You just mentioned there that you sold your flat in order to do this. So how do you go about, completing something like this, doing something like this? How do you fund yourself?
Okay, so first of all, I had some amazing sponsors, Royal Commission for Alula, STA, and a company called Gymnation, but it wasn't enough. So I really backed myself, and I thought, you only live once. This is so important to me. I've been planning it for so long. So I kind of cashed my chips in, and, when I'm 92 and in the kind of on the streets instead of the nice comfy care home, I'll probably curse myself again.
In terms of what you did when you were there, when you were walking, was it sleeping in tents? I'm assuming, and was that what it was for the entire trip?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Again, on stage 1, we were invited, Saudi people are the most hospitable people in the world, genuinely the most hospitable people. So when we were walking in stage 1 in areas where it was more populated, everyone was like, oh, come and stay at my farm. And quite often we'd sleep. Everyone in Saudi has what they call a majlis, like a big sitting room where guests go, usually with a fire and places to make coffee. So they on the fire, and so often we'd sleep in there, or occasionally, but mainly it was tents. And on stage 2, again, it was broken into 2 stages. We slept every night in the tent. I love my tent. I like sleeping in a tent. I sleep really well, and I enjoyed it. And we also had two very important team members. We had Juicy and Lulu the camels.
Of course. Well, what an experience, Alice. It sounds utterly epic and amazing that you have managed to complete it as well. So congratulations and thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming onto the programme to speak to us. That's Alice Morrison, British explorer, becoming the first recorded person to walk the entire length of Saudi Arabia, north to south, entirely on foot, and our feet are now recovered, thank goodness. 5 Live Breakfast this morning with Rick and Laura.